Hey guys, it's Ben with Myers Woodshop. We're going to be opening up this printer today. Take a look, see if it's worth buying. Let's check it out. This is the build plate. It's magnetic. It's from Mingda. Inside this box we have all of the things to make it work. Looks like we have the X gantry, mostly pre-assembled here. Underneath that we have the hot end. We have the power cord, or the filament holder, I think. Then we have the base, which is pretty much the entire machine already put together. Okay, the machine has come in and I've set it down. There is no paperwork with this machine, so you don't know how to set it up. It does come with a 4 GB full-size SD card. I'm assuming there's instructions on this, but I've done enough of these printers that I don't really need it. It also comes with a SD reader with the USB full-size. So I'm just going to move some of this stuff behind me. It comes with a packet of screws. I'm going to do 4 screws on either side up into the gantry to hold it on. It's going to be the 4 thicker screws that come up from the bottom. I'll move the other screws behind me out of the way. It does come with a spatula. We don't need that at this point. And we're going to get out the wrenches because we'll need those. So we'll grab our gantry. It's going to fit right inside of these rails here with the motors facing toward the back. They're facing towards me. One thing I don't like about this design, however most units are going to this, is you typically need another person to help you attach this because you can't usually go through the bottom and hold everything with 2 hands. You need a 3rd hand to drive the bolt. But this one has some holes down through the bottom. We're going to hope we get the bolt through correctly. I got 1 bolt through. And then I'm going to tilt it just a little bit and start inserting this 1 bolt. I'm leaning it this way first because I don't want it to sit on a motor. I'd rather it sit on some of the rollers. So I'm doing it this way. Then we got 1 bolt in, so that's good. So that's those 2. We're going to tilt it the other way. You can see these 2 holes that I've got to get the wrench into. And there's our 4. That was a lot easier than normal. And normally most machines stop there, but on this one we have 2 holes on the side and 2 holes up top. And this machine, they include 2 T-brackets, and these are going to be for the sides to give it extra stability. They'll go just like that. These are all pre-drilled, and none of these are the same length, but I can take a guess pretty easily, and the button head type screws are going to go in the base because there's 4 of those, and we're going to use 2 down here, and the button head longer ones are going to go up top because they need to reach farther. So let's check it out. All right, you can see I got the 2 screws down on the bottom, the 2 screws up through the vertical extrusion, and that's how it will stay on to this. We'll flip it around, I'll do the back side, and then we'll attach the extruder. All right, we got those sides on. Now we're just going to connect the cables to the back of the Z axis dual motor, so it'll go up and down. Now we want to connect our extruder. So the first thing we need to do is take this little piece, and it's going to attach right here with the 2 tiny screws, and they are Phillips head. They don't include a screwdriver, so we'll have to provide that on our own. This cable will attach to the motor, And then these two little cables are going to attach to the stop here, the homing switch. So we're just going to place those in first because they're the hardest ones to get on. All right, so I attached this. It's 3 simple screws through the back, 3 bolts through the back. It's on. The last thing we need to attach is the filament holder. So we want the filament to come through here. So I'm gonna guess we're kind of want the filament probably about here. And we're gonna have to attach this roller onto it. So it has these little T-nut slots. We just have to figure out which Allen key will go in there. Looks like this one. So you'll just attach these, pull it tight. There we go. Now we need to take off this one. And this is a very, very hefty roller. So that right there is the assembly of the machine. I did it without an instruction book. Very simple, although I've done a bunch of machines. So let's turn it on and check out what the operating system looks like. I'm going to install the magnetic bed. Just like that. Peel off that sticker. And we'll go ahead and turn it on. And it should power up. There's a Mingda screen. Everything is pretty quiet so far. Very very colorful, readable screen. We have the MD D301 version 1 ready. If we click on info, it does nothing. Let's go to menu. We have move. We're just going to move the Z a little bit. Oh, it's extremely quiet. We hit that, we can move the Z even more. We're going to go back. We have homing, extrude, print, settings, screen, machine. We have LED color. We have an LED underneath. We can change to whatever color we want. I'm going to put on white. Feature, we have manual, auto power, the run out off, the run out on. We definitely want it on. Info shows us our board and the firmware. We have 2.1.0 as of May 28th. That's the build on that. Screen, we can rotate the UI. I should not have done that because now it's upside down. We're going to go rotate UI again, come back, and there we go. TSC adjust, oh, that's the touchscreen calibration, which it made me do when I rotated everything. English, silent off, silent on. That's for the touch buttons. And I think that's everything we got on that screen. So we can heat up the extruder. Man, this is really responsive. Everything looks right there. We're gonna go click on home and we're just gonna home everything. So we'll watch it home. And I forgot to connect this cable right down here. Be the Z. Let's home the machine again because I didn't have this plugged in. So there's home. And we can adjust that with this screw to where home is, which is fantastic. This unfortunately doesn't have automatic leveling. So we're going to have to go ahead and level the machine. And that's not a big deal, but then we can print from the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and level it off camera. That's boring, and there's a ton of videos for that. And then we'll come back and print something. All right, so I just leveled the Z. I'm going to move the Z up 20 millimeters. And now we're going to load some filament. I'm going to do it with the sample filament. So I'm just going to plop this sample filament through the filament sensor. Cut it at a 45 so it'll go through it. All right, then we're going to just load it into our machine. That. We'll go back and we'll do menu, extrude, load. We need our hot end to heat up to 200. It doesn't ask to do that, which is kind of a bummer. Then we're going to go back to menu, extrude. Gotta wait till the hot end heats up. We're at 144. And when the hot end heats up, we will, which it reached right there. We're just gonna go back into menu, extrude, and we're gonna load 15 millimeters. And I have to push it each time. You can see it's shoving it out. So we've loaded our material. That's great. We're going to insert the SD card that came with the machine. It's full size. It goes in upside down and it clicks in. Tells me card's inserted. I click on print. It gives me a bunch of different things that are on here. But it looks like we have, I don't know what this is, but it's going to be our sample file. So we'll see how it goes once we go. We do have baby stepping in our print menu, which is a you must have for printers. So thank you so much to whoever created this. Wonderful. We can do fan, LED, color, extrude feature with the auto power on and off. In this setting, we have heat, so we can increase our heat temperature, and we can change the nozzle and the bed, either one. You can change your fan speed. Again, the baby stepping, pause and stop. So now let's go ahead and watch it print. It'll heat up, start printing. Go ahead and find home, lift up, and start printing. And I can already tell that our baby stepping is we are much too far away. There we go. We got a nice layer right there. So this file is just going to test our corners, which is fantastic. It was in Japanese, so I didn't know what it would be. But it's testing the leveling of our corners. So we know our baby steps great right now. I just click save. I think we actually need to go up. So I'm just going to let this go. We'll come back and see what it printed. All right, so this file finished. I believe it just did these circles. I came back out to see heater timeout. I believe that when it finished the program, it just goes back in the back corner and brings it forward so you can get your piece off. And the heater timeout means that it was on, nobody turned it off after that, so it turned itself off. So I'll hit confirm. Well, it said it got to 5%, so there may be more. And it's heating back up. I'm not exactly sure why it stopped. I didn't have anything running, and I left it running overnight to see what would happen. So let's turn it back on and see what it does. Reheat finished. Grab that. And it's going to start printing more. The filament just busted. So the filament sensor hasn't tripped, which is interesting. Which is not a promising feature because the filament sensor should have tripped and said no filament. And it did not do that. So let's see if it catches itself. It should have done it right away. All right, so I'm going to load the SD card with the firmware on it, and we're going to turn the machine on. And it's going to load the firmware. Looks like it's upside down when it's doing it, so that's interesting. I didn't have to do a thing to do that. It just loaded it on its own. So we'll check the firmware date. Hopefully it's newer than what was ever on the machine itself. All right, and we're going to touch the screen for calibration. Interesting, it doesn't have you touch the left part of the screen for calibration. But rebooting. Here's the screen. Go to settings and the info. August 28th, firmware 2.7.0. So that's much newer than the firmware that we had earlier. So the run out. Maybe the runout was off last time, and that's why the screen did what it did. Everything looks pretty much the same to me. Oh, I think this screen looks different. You can read everything here. It's very different. Let's go to extrude and let's unload the filament that's in there. Although I'm kind of curious and don't understand why it'll let you try to unload without it heating up temperature of the hot end, because it wasn't coming out when I hit unload. So we're going to let it heat up from 100 to 190 and then try to extrude, because it's not doing that. Got to do it one at a time. When it gets to there, it's stuck. Goodness. And that's it. All right, let's rerun a print and see how it goes. All right, I started this back up. I can now see how long the prints take. The other one was 9.5. This is 8.5. You can see the temperature here, the temperature of the bed over here. You can choose heat, percentage, baby stepping, and more. We have fan and extrude. So that's the settings we get on here. Now, I don't understand why they include a 9-hour print with a tiny bit of filament, because I'm 100% going to run out. So this is just to test how well that's going. I'm going to cut the filament, see if it's working, because it doesn't seem like the filament sensor worked before. And it may be a setting that I was set wrong. So here it is laying down the first row of filament, and it usually does some sort of raft or brim on these sample prints. So that's what it looks like it's doing. The first layer lays out so beautifully. I'm very impressed. And when the failed print and I stopped it to upgrade the firmware, this stuff came off super easy. So far that build plate is pretty impressive. All right, so I did cut the filament, and it did pop up a button and beep at me, filament run out. However, it's still going. So I don't understand why it would still go and just beep at me because you're going to set an 8-hour print and leave. So that's a little confusing. Filament run out, hit continue. Oh, it did stop and it is pulling back. So that's a blessing. It is working correctly now. So if I hit confirm, nozzle parked, it shot some through and then it pulled some out. So it's ready for me to stick in more filament, which is great. So that is working correctly, and I'm happy about that. So I think I'm just going to cancel this print because the print is going to be way too long. I'm going to slice something that'll use the filament, just maybe a XYZ test cube, and print something that'll actually use up the filament and not take forever to print. But that came off really easy and it laid down really nice. All right, the print just finished. This was sliced in Prusa slicer, and it looks pretty good. Looks really good for what it is. This is a 0.2. The X is very readable, the Y is very readable, the Z is beautifully readable. Perfect. And once this cools, it pops right off. So far, so good. Alright guys, here's the Mingda. I've been printing non-stop. I printed all this TPU for one of the Onefinity hole caps. I've had really good luck with print quality on it. I actually switched out the bed for a textured PEI sheet because I print a lot of PETG. And the bed sheet that it comes with is perfect for PLA, super sticky. However, it was too sticky for PETG, so I went with this and I love it. Super happy with it. It's quiet. The print consistency, the quality is pretty consistent. I will say, like, when you do the Cura profile or the Prusa slicer profile, you really need to slow things down. For some reason, it wants to do things speedily, and it can do it on some prints, but other prints, it's just too delicate or too fine of detail to go that fast. So you got to adjust the speeds and feeds and such. But other than that, super happy with it. I definitely think it's a buy.